Welcome back to our channel, guys. Today is an absolutely gorgeous day to dive headfirst into the latest, most emotionally charged drama unfolding right here in Fairmont Crest. We have some incredibly heartwarming yet deeply complex updates coming your way that you simply cannot miss. Grab your favorite iced coffee, settle into your comfiest chair, and let's unpack all the juicy, mind blowing details together. Beyond the Gates, spoilers tease that Leslie is about to experience one of the most profound, earth shattering emotional breakthroughs we have ever witnessed on this show. And guys, the climax of this entire emotional roller coaster happens on a boat. I mean, if you had told me a month ago that our resident high society perfectionist clinic director would find her ultimate absolute happiness swaying on the water under the moonlight, I would have laughed right in your face. But let me tell you, the absolute peak of this storyline hits when Leslie finally steps onto that wooden deck, looking around at the twinkling lights and realizing she almost threw away a man who genuinely adores her just because she was clinging to the ghost of her past. It is a moment of pure, unadulterated vulnerability that will leave you completely breathless and cheering for her. Let's rewind a bit and break down exactly how we get to this incredible, tear jerking turning point. Because if you ask me, the journey is just as fascinating as the destination. It all starts over at the police station. We have Marcel, who is just casually hanging around, and he starts grilling Jacob about the whole massive impaler situation. Now, this interaction is so fascinating to watch because you have Jacob, who is completely and utterly obsessed, practically losing his mind trying to catch this elusive international crime boss. Jacob is tense. He is traumatized by Derek's death, and he is working himself to the absolute bone. And then you have Marcel. Marcel is just Marcel. He has this laid back, almost detached, gritty curiosity. He is poking the bear, asking Jacob about the case, probably dropping some of his classic, slightly critical observations about police work. It is such a stark, almost comical contrast in energies. Marcel doesn't take the rigid structures of life too seriously, whereas Jacob is carrying the weight of the entire world on his shoulders. And right in the middle of this bizarre, tense dynamic at the precinct, in walks Leslie to whisk Marcel away. You can just feel the heavy tension of the police station melting away the second Marcel leaves that building with Leslie. But of course, because this is Leslie, we are talking about nothing is ever simple or straightforward. They leave the station and head over to Orphe Jeans, which, as we all know, is usually the prime backdrop for some of our favorite town gossip, public serenades, and relationship drama. Guys, this is where Marcel decides to shoot his shot in the biggest way possible. He looks at Leslie, this woman who is so incredibly used to the finer things, the luxury, the pristine control of her environment, the country club aesthetic, and he asks her to move in with him on his boat. Yes, you heard me correctly. A boat. He wants her to pack up her designer clothes and live on the water with him. I have to be completely honest here. When I first saw this unfolding, I was practically screaming at my screen. Leslie's reaction is exactly what you would expect from her, but it still physically hurts to watch. She shoots him down instantly. She tells him point blank that she is not a boat person. She claims she isn't used to life on the sea, that she needs her space, her earthly comforts, her solid ground. She makes it sound like he just asked her to move into a cardboard box. But let's be real for a second. If you ask my opinion, this knee-jerk rejection has absolutely nothing to do with sea legs the size of a closet or motion sickness. This is Leslie's deep-seated defense mechanism kicking into high gear. She is terrified. She has spent so much time performing, trying to maintain this flawless image of the perfect put-together woman, while secretly desperately pining for her ex, Ted. The idea of stripping all that superficial luxury away and living intimately in a confined, unique space with a man who sees right through her walls, it utterly terrifies her. So she pushes him away. She uses the boat as a convenient, snobby excuse to keep her emotional walls up and protect her fragile heart. But thank goodness for Eva. Seriously, we all need an Eva in our lives right now. Eva happens to be right there, and she is not about to let her mother self-sabotage yet again. Eva immediately jumps into the conversation and calls Leslie out on her absolute nonsense. And guys, this is where the dynamic between these two women just shines so brightly. Eva has been through hell and back recently. She survived a massive destructive tornado, suffered severe internal bleeding, and went through a terrifying liver transplant thanks to Kat. She has faced her own mortality head on. She is currently battling her own demons and body dysmorphia with Isaiah. Because of all this trauma, Eva has zero patience for petty, superficial excuses. Eva looks her mother dead in the eye and reminds her with brutal, piercing honesty that she is actively missing out on a chance for genuine, real happiness. Eva's words are sharp. They are cutting, but they are wrapped in so much deep love and frustration. She essentially tells Leslie that she is casually throwing away a good man, a man who is standing right in front of her, offering his heart and his home, all because of some ridiculous preconceived notions about how her life is supposed to look. Eva knows exactly what is going on beneath the surface. She knows Leslie has been holding out hope for Ted, clinging to a past that is dead, buried, and currently romancing Shanice. Eva is basically shaking her mother awake, saying, "Look at what you are doing. You are tossing aside a sure thing for a ghost." If you ask me, this is the harsh wake-up call Leslie has desperately needed for years. It is blunt, it is uncomfortable, but it is exactly what Leslie requires to snap out of her delusional, self-destructive cycle. Eva refuses to watch her mother grow old and bitter just because she is too proud to admit she might actually like a guy who doesn't fit the Fairmont Crest Country Club mold. And you know what is so mind-blowing? It actually works. Eva's words hit Leslie like a runaway freight train. You can literally see the gears turning in her head, the walls cracking just a tiny bit. For the first time, maybe ever, Leslie actually stops and deeply reflects on her actions instead of just getting defensive and storming off in a huff. She lets Eva's heavy words sink into her bones. Over the next day or so, Leslie really marinates on what she is doing with her life. She realizes with a sickening pit in her stomach that her daughter is absolutely right. She is letting her own insecurities, her fear of the unknown, and her lingering toxic attachment to her past dictate her future. She is letting a genuinely good thing, a man who makes her smile and challenges her, slip right through her manicured fingers simply because she is too stubborn to step outside her rigid comfort zone. She realizes that if she doesn't change her ways right now, she is going to end up completely alone, surrounded by nice furniture, but absolutely zero love. So, what does our girl do? She takes a massive, terrifying leap of faith. On the very next day, Leslie decides to swallow her immense pride, quiet her screaming fears, and she actually goes down to the marina to visit the boat. Guys, I cannot stress enough how beautiful this scene is. I am talking absolute television magic. When Leslie steps onto that yacht or boat or whatever you want to call Marcel's floating bachelor pad, the entire atmosphere just shifts. She was fully expecting to feel out of place, maybe a little claustrophobic, or totally disconnected from her usual luxury. She probably expected it to smell like old fish and engine oil, but instead, she is completely taken aback by the sheer beauty of it all. The setting is just insanely gorgeous. I want you to imagine the gentle, rhythmic rocking of the water beneath her feet, the cool, crisp evening breeze coming off the bay, the soft, warm fairy lights strung up around the wooden deck, casting this golden glow over everything. It is incredibly, overwhelmingly romantic. In that single quiet moment, all of Leslie's preconceived, snobby notions just wash away with the tide. She looks around and she doesn't see a cramped, weird boat. She sees a sanctuary. She sees a cozy, intimate place where she can just be herself without the heavy, suffocating expectations of her social circle, without having to pretend she is the perfect clinic director. And more importantly than the boat itself, she looks at Marcel. This is the exact moment Leslie has her massive, life-altering epiphany. She realizes, standing there on the deck with the wind in her hair, that the thing making her heart flutter isn't the thread count of the sheets, the square footage of the living room, or the zip code of the address. It is Marcel. It is the way he looks at her, the way he cherishes her, the way he genuinely, deeply wants her by his side. Leslie finally truly understands that true happiness has absolutely nothing to do with a luxurious high society lifestyle. It is about the emotional connection. It is about being valued, respected, and desired by someone who loves you for exactly who you are. Flaws, meltdowns, and all. I mean, wow. Guys, talk about character growth. This is a woman who has been driven by status and appearances for as long as we have known her, finally understanding that pure, unconditional love is what truly matters at the end of the day. Now, we absolutely have to talk about Marcel's reaction to all of this because it is just so incredibly sweet and raw. When Leslie actually shows up on his boat, you can see the absolute profound relief wash over his entire face. Marcel is not a fool. He is a very observant guy. He knows Leslie better than she thinks he does. He understands perfectly well that she is not quite ready to pack up all her designer bags, sell her belongings, and move her entire life onto the water permanently. He gets that she isn't going to change her entire lifestyle overnight just because of one romantic evening. But to Marcel, the simple fact that she showed up, the fact that she took the initiative to step into his world, to face her fears, and to give his lifestyle a genuine, honest chance, that means absolutely everything to him. It is a massive, glowing green light. It shows him that she is finally opening her guarded heart to him, that she is willing to meet him halfway, which is something Leslie rarely does for anyone. Marcel feels this immense, heavy weight lift off his shoulders because he realizes she isn't running away anymore. She isn't hiding behind her excuses. She is staying to fight for them, and that gives him all the hope in the world. Meanwhile, back on dry land, Eva is having her own little beautiful moment of realization. She starts to see the massive positive impact her harsh words had on her mother. After their previous intense, borderline screaming matches, Eva had really pushed Leslie to reconsider her hasty rejection of Marcel. And seeing her mother actually take that advice to heart, seeing her mother drop her ego and go to the boat, it is huge for Eva. Eva doesn't want her mother to keep missing out on beautiful opportunities just because she is carrying around past hurts or lingering disappointments from Ted. Eva knows firsthand how fragile and fleeting life is. She knows that you have to grab happiness with both hands when it presents itself because you never know when a tornado is going to rip through your town and change everything. Seeing Leslie finally take a risk for love brings Eva an incredible amount of joy, peace, and validation. It makes all the arguing totally worth it. And the absolute culmination of all this emotional growth, the cherry on top of this beautiful storyline, happens when Leslie and Eva finally cross paths again after the boat date. Leslie doesn't just brush it off or act like it was no big deal. She pulls her daughter aside, looks her in the eye, and gives her the most sincere, heartfelt, teary-eyed thank you. It is such a raw, beautiful, full circle moment for these two. Leslie openly, freely confesses that she is truly, genuinely happy right now. She admits with complete vulnerability that we are not used to seeing from her, that she wants to give this relationship with Marcel a real, honest chance. And she tells Eva the absolute truth. If Eva hadn't spoken up, if Eva hadn't delivered that harsh, stinging reality check at Orphe Jeans, Leslie would have kept her distance. She would have let her pride and her fear win, and she would have completely missed out on something incredibly beautiful and life-changing. It is just so incredibly heartwarming to see this family healing their generational trauma. Eva is absolutely thrilled to see her mother finally finding a new spark, a new joy, and a new sense of peace with Marcel. It really feels like a massive, heavy chapter is closing on the old, bitter, controlling Leslie, and a new, bright, hopeful chapter is beginning. If you ask me, this entire boat storyline is exactly the kind of pure, uplifting romance we desperately needed to balance out all the intense, dark stalker drama and plasma ring chaos happening elsewhere in town. It proves that it is never, ever too late to change your ways, never too late to let go of your heavy baggage, and definitely never too late to fall madly in love in the most unexpected places. I cannot wait to see where Marcel and Leslie go from here. Will she eventually get her sea legs permanently and sail off into the sunset? Will they face new hurdles? We will just have to keep our eyes glued to the screen to find out. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you love them together as much as I do?